Thank you for joining us for today's service. The ringing of the concho signifies the start of the service. Please sit quietly. Please rise for the meditation, followed by the chanting in Pali and English of the Vandana and Tisarana by the congregation. be seated. Please turn to page 54 in this red Jodo Shinshu service book for the Sutra Juseige.
Nama Gabatsu, Nama Gabatsu, Nama Gabatsu.
Please rise and to
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Please rise and turn to page 126 in the same book for the recitation Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful deeds, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now
depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Among us.
Please continue standing for the Gatha Shinshu anthem on page 147 of this brown Praises of the Buddha book. Page 147. Please be seated. Our Dharma talk today is from Reverend Sumikawa. Sensei.
Good morning, everyone. I was really enjoying this, you know. You guys are going to get good scoldings afterwards. No. You did a pretty good job, right? Yeah. You know, we've been working so hard this past, I don't know, over a month now, and we'll continue to do so in the next few months. So please be patient and we'll get there, right? So let's please join me by putting your hands together as I read these words. The light of purity is without compare. When a person encounters this light, all bonds of karma fall away. So take refuge in Amida, the ultimate shelter. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman Dautsu. Naman Dautsu. Years ago, the bishop of the Hompa Honganji mission, Eric Matsumoto, asked temples throughout Hawaii to light a special and separate candle at Sunday services to honor and to remember those who have been killed or injured or otherwise suffering from incidents such as what's happening again and again here and on the mainland and overseas as well. Perhaps we should again do this ritual in response to the war in Ukraine, where there are many reports of atrocities committed by the Russian forces in their effort to change the landscape of the area. Many people are killed. Civilians are reportedly tortured, and just as sadly, the suffering of farm animals, pet cats and dogs, who are wandering the streets in deep fear, and they're starving. So humanitarian efforts are being made, and I see compassionate people bringing dog food, spreading across towns, and giving aid to animals that are maimed. Not to mention, of course, the recent senseless mass shootings in Buffalo, Goshen, Indiana, Tacoma, Washington, and just this past week, the horrible massacre of 19 young children, 2 teachers at the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, including the shooting of the perpetrator's grandmother. The significance of the lighted candle is that it is a representation of the Buddha's light of wisdom that illuminates samsara, that is, in our hearts and minds. The lighting of candles has symbolic importance in Buddhism, as it does in many other different faith systems as well. As I said, the light represents wisdom. It is through the light of wisdom that the darkness of ignorance that dwells in our hearts or our minds can be driven away. In some traditions, the candle represents life. When the wax of the candle is good and the wick is of sufficient quality, the candle is capable of receiving and carrying the wisdom of the flame. And as you know, some candles are easier than others to light. Some are very difficult to light. We can all learn from the experience of lighting a candle. New candles sometimes take a little extra encouragement, so to speak, to accept the flame. Perhaps that is the way that we human beings who might be encountering Buddhism for the first time may be anxious and a bit confused, struggle to accept the wisdom of the Buddha's teaching. But that's okay. Have you tried to light a candle outside on a windy day? It's not easy. Years ago, we used to go to the Japanese cemetery in Kahuku, where my paternal grandfather, who died at the age of 27, was buried. And the grave was right adjacent to the beach. My parents had a heck of a time trying to light the incense. Everyone had to huddle around to stop the wind from blowing out the fire. The wind and the rain made it challenging for the incense to accept the flame. The wind represents the anxieties, the pain, and worries that we all suffer in the outside world, and prevents us from understanding the wisdom of the Buddha's teachings. But when the candle's wick takes the flame, all doubt is cast aside, and the realization that we are on the spiritual path, ever guided by the Buddha's wisdom and compassion. The bishop writes in a newsletter release to seek guidance. I would like to read part of it. In this time of uncertainty brought about by nuclear threats, racism, hate, and violence, let us go to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha for guidance. The Buddha of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, Amida Buddha, in the spirit of true equality, respects and loves all life equally, and thus aspires for the enlightenment of all existence. May we take refuge and seek inspiration in the great wisdom and unconditional compassion. The Dharma emphasizes that hatred is not overcome by hatred. Hatred is overcome by love. This is an ancient truth, and anger creates anger. Revenge can only be overcome by abandoning revenge. And the wise will seek neither victory nor defeat. And may we seek the wisdom of the Dharma, which is expansive, just as expansive as the great oceans of the earth. The Sangha of our Jodo Shinshu spiritual leaders of the past 3 generations have shared important insights to harmonious living in hopes that there will be more peace in the world. They have emphasized that a person's nobility is based not on birth, caste, or race, but on a person's actions. Further, it is the preciousness of life. Last but not least, it is the interdependent nature of existence in which we are all truly interconnected and interrelated. In these troubled and turbulent times, as I ponder on what I can do, the first matter at hand is to self-reflect and realize how easily I am swayed by negative thoughts, emotions, and impulses as well. Another is to be aware of the fact that our true enemy is very often not an external enemy, but the internal enemies of self-centeredness, arrogance, doubt, greed, and anger. Lastly, if we want a change in the world, it is we who must change. That no lasting change will come from anger and violence. Thus, as we aspire for a more peaceful world, instead of protests in which we clash, we should highlight the life and actions of people who have overcome discrimination, violence, and selfishness in all parts of the world, including areas that are currently plagued by extreme violence, terror, and unhappiness. As we are illuminated by the light of wisdom and compassion, may we realize that peace begins with each one of us and is dependent upon all of us. Namo Amida Butsu, and trusting to all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion. While it is without a doubt that, and true, that as the Buddha said, that hatred does not cease by hatred, but by love, this doesn't happen overnight, but by patience. In our zeal to do what is right, we should understand first what the other's understanding is and its motivation. It is only then that hatred is tempered. We must look inward to live in harmony. Look at the statue of Amida Buddha before you, if you will. While their eyes are open, looking out at us, reaching out to us, they are also half closed, looking inward in deep self-reflection. The Buddhist scholar Andrew Olenki breaks down historical lessons from the Buddha on how to get along with others, confront difficult emotions, and to live together peacefully. He said that the underlying cause of conflict is not an enemy or adverse conditions, but a thorn that is lodged within our own heart and mind. This radical notion from the historical Buddhist teachings come with a 2,600-year-old method for dislodging that thorn. It is by cultivating healthy mind states and changing our inner attitudes and responses that will transform strife into peace. Andrew expands on the Buddha's timeless lessons on dealing with inner fear, pain, and violence, and how looking inward can help us live in peace with others. Buddhism tends to look inward rather than outward, so it organizes the different kinds of conflict, not in terms of their outer manifestations, but by means of their inner sources. So we have conflicts that are rooted in anger and others in resentment, hatred, attachment to views, and so forth. The antidotes all have to do with neutralizing or transforming these inner causes of conflict and replacing them with more positive or healthy mind states. Each specific harmful state has a corresponding helpful state that can be cultivated. But the most general solution involves replacing delusion in its many forms with wisdom or understanding. Though we teach and learn that the Buddha has some profound insights into why we don't get along with one another, why is it then that we haven't been able to master these insights in the last 2,600 years? The metaphor of a thorn lodged deep in the heart can be used to broadly understand the Buddhist explanation for conflict. We are wounded and in pain, and this drives us mad and makes us lash out at others. The solution is inner healing, but the toxic emotions are powerful, and they're not easily overcome. We can all benefit from applying these insights into our lives, although it's not easy to do. I read this story somewhere. Once upon a time, in a small village near the woods, there lived a compassionate man. He was a man of simple ways. He loved nature, he loved life, and he was very kind. Each morning, he would take a walk through the woods to enjoy the wildflowers, the trees, and the songs of the birds. He even liked and respected the insects. One day he came upon a cocoon that had been built by a caterpillar underneath a milkweed leaf. He'd heard that caterpillars built cocoons in order to protect them while they grew into butterflies. He had never seen a butterfly emerge from a cocoon before, but he certainly loved these butterflies. So the man watched and watched day by day for signs that the caterpillar might be changing into a butterfly. A week or so later, it started to happen. He sat and watched hour after hour as a small butterfly tried to break free of the cocoon by squeezing through a small opening at the tip. The butterfly struggled and struggled, but it could not get free of the cocoon. It seemed to the man that the butterfly was about ready to give up the struggle, as it seemed quite exhausted. Trying to help then, the man took a small tool out of his pocket and cut a tiny opening in the cocoon. It worked. But to the disappointment of the kind man, the butterfly could not fly. Its wings would not unfold properly. Confused and sad, the man scooped up the butterfly and the empty cocoon and took it quickly to a nearby school to ask the science teacher if she knew what might have gone wrong. The teacher explained to the compassionate man that while the man's intention was good, nature designed the butterfly such that it was meant to struggle. The fight to force its way through the small opening of the cocoon would work to force the liquid from the butterfly's body into its wings, and that in turn would allow the butterfly to fly. Sadly, without the pain of emerging from the cocoon, the butterfly would never be able to spread its wings. experiencing life struggles, uneasiness, and pain helped us to grow. In the Buddha's time, this discomfort was called dukkha. I spoke about this reality in the First Noble Truth. We can take a lesson from our Christian brethren, that is, patience is a virtue. What is the Buddha's advice for living in harmony with people we fundamentally disagree with? But we can also look into Shin Buddhism, one of the 6 paramitas that we have to become a bodhisattva. The 6 perfections is the perfection of patience. You know the other 5, right? People can disagree with one another without feelings of animosity or subtle forms of hatred. Views and opinions can differ, but to have bad feelings toward people who hold these views is not necessary, and it is almost always counterproductive. This may be more challenging when harmful behavior is involved, but it is still more helpful to criticize the deed rather than the person. We can hold these people accountable through the law of the land, while still feeling compassion for the person who was thoughtless and misguided to have committed the crime. What is preventing us from living in harmony right now? The short answer is, and you all know this, the 3 poisons of gas: greed, anger, and stupidity, meaning not stupid, but unawareness. We talk about this all the time, and all the many flavors of unhealthy emotion and behavior that flow from these toxic feelings. Anytime we find ourselves in conflict with another, there is something either subtly or overtly that we don't like and want to be different than what it is, or something we really want to have happen that is not happening. We are used to thinking the only solution is changing the external circumstances, such as getting the other person to agree with us. But the compassionate person and the cocoon, we have to be patient. And through the guidance of the Buddha's light of wisdom and compassion, as the bishop has said, we will realize peace within each of us and throughout the world. So, thank you very much for listening this morning. Thank you very much for attending this soon to become a very special service. Let's put our hands together in Gassho and recite the Nembutsu together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandao.
Thank you, Reverend Bert. So remember, every time we look at the light, we think of the wisdom and the compassion of Amida Buddha, and also about our life and the struggles that we have. So like when the wind blows, so it talks about our life too, doesn't it? Thank you, Sensei. Would you all please rise and turn to page 123 in this brown Praises of the Buddha book for the Gatha Ondok Sang number 2. Please continue to stand for the Nembutsu. Please be seated. I'd like to call on President Prudence Kusano.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Wyatt. We did this especially for you. That was your graduation gift from the four of us. No, I was just joking. Okay, today we are going to be recognizing Wyatt because he's graduating and he's off to college. So if Wyatt and your parents and your sister could come up to the front and just stand in front. Yay.
Let's put our hands together. The Wynwood Buddhist Temple Sangha congratulates Wyatt Fujikawa upon his graduation from the University Lab School and celebrates together his accomplishments throughout your years as you continue on the path of life. We also recognize the sacrifices of your parents, teachers, and all significant others who have nurtured you to this day. Remember the golden chain of love and remember that every bad situation will have something positive. I truly believe that you have learned valuable lessons both in high school and here. That of being in the embrace of infinite wisdom and compassion, and that you will always walk the light of the 6 paramitas and the Eightfold Path throughout your adult life. May you be continually guided by the infinite life and light as you continue your life's journey. In deep appreciation, we recite in gratitude, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Now will you please offer incense with your family?
Thank you. You may be seated. After this, when we go for our refreshments, we will also celebrate his graduation with a huge cake, so I hope you eat a lot. Okay. Good morning, and welcome again, Tracy and James. Nice to see you back. And let's see, there's some members that, they're members I haven't seen for a long time. Diane and her husband Wayne, they're seated in the back there. And all of the Fujikawa families, nice to have you here. Thanks today to our volunteers, Merle, for serving as our greeter, and Shirley for serving as our MC, and our pianist. We had two today, I think, Lisa and Joy. Thank you. And thank you, Ryan, for always recording this. And our refreshments for today is led by Dana and her team. And before I go on, I agree with the Reverend regarding all the kinds of shootings that we've had recently. And the statement that came out from the Bishop and Reverend Higa as chair of the Committee on Social Concerns just came out, so I forwarded to those of you that have email, and then I'll also post one here. But the interesting thing is, in 2018, the bishop also sent out a statement regarding gun violence after the Parkland, Florida's high school that had 17 students killed. And then in 2019, he sent the same communication out because that was acting after the El Paso shooting where there were 23 people that were killed. And of course, I don't think he wanted to repeat the same thing over, so this time we have a new one. But I thought, how sad, that we have to keep sending these things out. But you can also go on that link, and the one that came out in 2018, I think, is very helpful, provides some perspectives on, as Buddhists, how we look at these things. Okay, so a few announcements. We were planning our live bone dance this year, and with the COVID cases going up, and Hawaii, I guess, is one of the leading states with more and more COVIDs. And it's predicted that June, Oahu would hit its peak. So we decided that rather than waiting and starting all the preparation, the board has decided that we're going to cancel it for this year. So thank you for those of you that had signed up last Sunday, but Merle would get to you and then we won't need it this year. But I'm really hoping that we can do it next year. And starting in June, we're going to bring back First Sunday. So next Sunday is our first Sunday. And of course, I forgot to bring you my sample of what we're going to be doing. So those of you that come and you can join us at the table. It was meant to be an intergenerational activity, but I don't know what it's going to be. So anybody that wants to join in the activity can join us after the service. Also, how many of you remember Jean and Jason Rubinek? They used to be a couple. They were here, and they had a brand new baby before she was transferred. Well, she sent me pictures of the new baby, and he's a big boy now. And then here's Jason, and so I'll post this up for those of you to remember. She said she truly misses being here, and they're waiting to return to Hawaii. But right now they're in Maryland. So, any other announcements? None? Okay. Well, then before we go next door for our refreshments, shall we turn to page 126 on the red book and recite the words of thanksgiving? We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. We share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you.